Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Church in Fall River. I'm Nick Boke. I've been here off and on for a number of years now, and I've always enjoyed it. An interesting congregation in a lovely building. It's okay. And I welcome you. I'd love to say that the refreshments after the service will be blah, 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 but no. Who knows? For all we know, this may be the last time any of us decide to venture out, given whatever is happening with this new variety of whatever. So I'll light this chalice this morning so that once again we can share the light of knowledge and hope, hoping that things will get better sometime and stay better. Can we join together now in hymn number 139? Hymn number 139 is "Wonder Still the World Shall Witness." And I'm going to step away from the microphone because you don't want to hear me singing, and I like to. And Richard, the other question I should have asked you is, do we say the affirmation number 471 in unison? Yes, I thought we did, but I wasn't about to run down and whisper it in your ear. Can we join together now in the affirmation number 471 printed in your order in the hymnal? Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with our God. So now we'll see if we have any announcements. Yes, sir. Hi.
My pleasure to remind you that we continue to have a Course in Miracles every Friday at 11 a.m. It's now in 21 countries. And we're translated in terms of numbers, depending on how speed or California. I'll check it on. You're welcome. We have Richard Trudeau as one of our participants, voting from us from Epictetus of all things. Al is our tech person, and Al, Rico, and a couple of million of us, and David, also a great program, and you don't have to agree with anything, of course, we're we don't.
Great, thank you, and congratulations. Others? Yes, ma'am, Kit.
Thank you so much for coming to visit us. I know how far away you are. I saw the dust on the car. But it's my job actually to let you know that Richard will be our minister next Sunday. Thank you so much.
People often ask me how I can preach to a congregation of Unitarian Universalists, to any congregation of Unitarian Universalists. And I say, it's simple. We do something very different from what most people standing in a position like this do. My job is to ask good questions, not to give the answers. Today we'll be talking about the question of what we believe, and I begin with 3 readings, as I almost always do, simply because I think the variety is so important. The 3 readings, the first is from 1700 BCE, the hymn of Amun-Ra, the sun god. The second is from Paul's letter to the Hebrews, where he will talk about belief, faith, and the third is much more modern, Philip Larkin, from his wonderful poem, Church Going, which actually I may have read here before because I know just part of it, the same part, because it's just such a wonderful poem. I think you'll see how it fits with the rest. The hymn to Amun-Ra begins, "Mighty Prince of the gods, great one of justice, Lord of Karnak, in this thy name, doer of justice, Lord of plenty, peaceful bull, in this thy name, Amun-Ra, bull of his mother, making mankind, creating all that is. The 2 birds fly on wings before him, the hearts of men run to him like dogs, the illuminated ones run towards him. adorning the two lands by his coming forth. Hail to thee, Amun-Ra, Lord of the throne of the two lands. His city loveth his rising. Do you believe that? It's not the point. Here's what Paul had to say in his letter to the Hebrews, verses 1 through 8, I believe. Now, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. For by it the elders obtained a good report. Through faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God, so that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. By faith, Abel offered unto God a more excellent sacrifice than Cain, by which he obtained a witness that he was righteous, God testifying of his gifts. And by it he, being dead, yet speaketh. By faith, Enoch was translated so that he should not see death, and was not found because God had translated him. But before his translation, he had this testimony that he pleased God. But without faith, it is impossible to please God. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Now, coming up ahead to the last century from Philip Larkin, it's the end of this wonderful poem called Church Going, where he's talking about, I think, riding a bicycle around part of England and coming upon an old church. And he wraps it up by saying this: a serious house on serious earth this is, in whose blent air all our compulsions meet, are recognized and robed as destinies, and that much never can become obsolete. Since someone will forever be surprising a hunger in himself to be more serious, and gravitating with it to this ground which he had once heard was proper to grow wise in, if only that so many dead lay around. Can we now read together the responsive reading, antiphonal reading, number 657, the reading that was built for this sermon? It matters what we believe. And would you read it through to yourself, please, before you read it aloud, so you can be sure you want to say these things? Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage an exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities. Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies. Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction. Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness. Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Let's take a few moments now to think about not only what we believe, but how we live and how we're living today, and maybe what we're hoping for. Amen. And now can we join together in singing hymn number 113? Number 113 is "Where is Our Holy Church?" I'll call her Yasmina. She's one of the Lebanese students I've been helping for 5 or 6 years get into and get funding for American college. Yasmina began her first and her second, third, and up to sixth draft of the Common Application College essay with a simple statement. I was, she wrote, taught what to believe. She was responding to the third prompt of this year's 7 options, the one that asked the students to reflect on a time when you questioned a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? Yasmina went on to explain that she had been raised in a Maronite Catholic family and attended a Maronite Catholic school in a Maronite Catholic village in the mountains of Lebanon, where, as she put it, everything depended on religion. A number of events caused her to begin to question what she had been taught, including the death of her grandfather to COVID-19, and then the August 2020 massive explosion in the port of Beirut. It was an interesting story, ultimately well told. But it wasn't the story that got me thinking. It was her statement, I was taught what to believe, that got me thinking. It got me thinking, of course, because it wasn't just she who had been taught what to believe. It was every one of the 45 Lebanese kids whose essays I worked on this year, and everybody else in Lebanon, and in neighboring Syria and Jordan, and my friends in Iraq and the Democratic Republic of Congo and Germany, and my family in North Carolina and California, and my friends and neighbors in Vermont, and everybody everywhere. Always. She should have written, except it wasn't the point she wanted to make in her essay, we are all taught what to believe. Whether it's the Thanksgiving myth that early British colonists got along really well with the natives they encountered when they settled on the natives' land, or through Sunday school lessons, or in an Afghan madrasa, whether it's that kindly uncle who has all the wisdom that the family thinks the children need, or a shaman whom the tribe has decided has real insight into how things work, or the prayers we recite, the hymns we sing, the rituals we engage in, we are all taught what to believe. That's not to say, of course, that some or many or most or a few of us, I'm not quite sure what would be the proper proportion, question, as Yasmina did at some point, what we've been taught. And it may be, as it was for her, a traumatic event or two that precipitated the new thinking, or it may be, as it was also for her, when she learned that questions could be asked, even before she'd had the traumatic events, simply wondering how what she was learning in her high school science classes could coexist with what she had been taught about herself, about life in general, about good and evil, about the universe. But before we consider the questions that a lot of people find themselves asking, let's think about that verb, to believe. This verb is so essential to this whole discussion. It's a funny word. We treat it as though it were so different from the other verb that addresses a similar behavior on our part, the verb to know. We treat them as though one were based on facts and the other on unproven assumptions. But the fact of the matter, at least what I believe or what I know to be the fact of the matter, is that there's nothing we can know beyond the shadow of a doubt. Carry any knowledge or assumptions far enough, and we find ourselves confronted with some variety of the Hindu and Buddhist premises that it's all just an illusion anyway. So how can we be sure of anything? Whenever I find myself heading down this particular cognitive highway, I am reminded of our friend Martha. Years ago, some Jehovah's Witnesses or some other traveling evangelizers knocked on her door. She and they began to talk, and pretty soon, as I understand it, they asked her what she believed in. She paused, at least as she tells the story, and then said, "Well, I believe in gravity. Not, I know there is gravity, I believe in it." That certainly fits with Yasmina's premise that we believe what we are taught, although it has made me think a lot about our belief in or knowledge about gravity since then. As I watch babies and toddlers going about their business, hi kids, I wonder how much of what they're doing is trying to figure out stuff like gravity. Do they drop food from the plate onto the floor and push the cushion off the couch again, or roll a ball downhill as part of an ongoing research project to determine whether, first, there is gravity, and having determined that, yes, gravity exists, second, if it is universal? I think that's what they're doing. I think that by the time some third grade pre-science teacher starts talking about it, they've already completed the research project, so they could, if asked, announce, "I believe in gravity." Can we say, "I know that gravity exists"? Oh, not unless we're willing for somebody to start pulling that "what if it's all an illusion" stuff on us, to say nothing of what cutting edge quantum theory, which I don't understand at all, but what that says and what that might add to the discussion about the existence of gravity. The best we can do in any set of circumstances is to assert that we believe in it. Whether it's that gravity exists, or that the sun goes around the sun, or that the universe is 14 point something billion years old, or that people always need food and water, or love makes life more pleasant, or the sun will come up tomorrow. It's all based on our belief. Even Descartes, one of the guys who set the modern intellectual world in motion, couldn't really be sure of much. All he could say, after spending all that time trying to figure out what he could be sure of, what he could truly say he knew, was that there was an I that was thinking about these things. That, my friends, is what cogito ergo sum was all about. It wasn't, as many of us understand it, some beautiful statement about the power of human reason. It was just a proof. He figured that the only thing he could be certain of was that something he could call I was thinking all this stuff. That's all. Period. But of course, had the contrarian been around the day he had this realization, he might have had to deal with, but what if the I you think is doing all this thinking is an illusion? All he could have said would have been, well, it seems really likely that this is true. Believe is a funny word. And it gets even funnier when we think about how we use it today. It's like faith. Remember Paul? We talk about faith as though it is somehow always related to our religious beliefs, our religious assumptions or premises, or whatever you want to call them. We don't talk about the faith we have in gravity, although if there's any validity to the ramble I just went through, we should, or at least could. But it gets even trickier when we step back from our use of the words belief and faith and realize that they are not universal components of religion as we believe them to be. Sorry, think them to be, know them to be. Jennifer Michael Hecht has a wonderful chapter in her 2003 book, Doubt, a History. About a third of the way through the book, she offers chapter 5, entitled Christian Doubt, Zen, Elisha, and Hypatia, year 1 to year 800 CE. In this subchapter, she explains the radical shift that religion took in the West during that period. In the subchapter called The Worried God, she explains that the Greeks and Romans said that belief was not as important as practicing the rites of the local gods. The Jews here said that belief was not as important as following the laws of their God, notwithstanding location. The Christians had neither rites, nor location, nor law to bind them. They focused instead on belief. Doubt was an accepted aspect of Greek and Jewish life, with Christianity managing one's doubt, that is, husbanding one's faith, became the central religious drama. The new religion focused, unlike the rest, on belief. And it's no surprise, is it? I mean, it is, after all, what those Jehovah's Witnesses, or whoever they were, asked our friend Martha, "What do you believe in?" That's what Yasmina's friends began to ask her as she came up with more and more questions. It's what people regularly ask Unitarian Universalists when they learn we don't have a creed. It's what my born again Christian cousin asked my father again and again. Well, what do you believe in? Not, do you pray 5 times a day, as a Muslim might ask? Or do you place bits of food out for your long dead ancestors, as my Shinto friend might ask? Or do you keep kosher? Or have you, as the priests who wrote the hymn to Amun-Ra would ask, given acclamations in his great house? Nope. When a Christian really gets down to business, he or she asks, have you accepted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Do you, in other words, believe? Oh, sure. A Roman, or for that matter, Maronite Catholic, might ask if you've gone to Mass recently or sat for confession. A good Protestant congressman might ask if you've kept some hard-hit family in your thoughts and prayers. A Mormon might ask if you received the gift of the Holy Ghost from a priest. But when push comes to shove, the Christian question is not, did you do such and such, but do you believe? Period. The central religious premise is what makes that song, I believe, that everybody from Perry Como to Elvis Presley in the 1960s to the rock group in the 1990s, the rock group Blessed Union of Souls, sang so poignantly. You know, it's the one that ends, I believe above the storm, the smallest prayer will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know why I believe. The song barely mentions what to believe. We know that. We recognize every one of the things that the singer believes in, the drops of rain, the candles glowing, those who have gone astray being shown the way. And we know that they are all associated with that someone in the great somewhere who hears every word, the universal God, omnipotent and omniscient, so much more powerful than Amun-Ra, who was only one among many gods, and who didn't insist that anybody believe in him since his presence was a given. Or than the Jewish Yahweh, who was just one among many also, but was the one who had promised to take care of the Jews, or of any of the Greek or Roman gods. Nope. The only God, the maker and master of the universe. That's what we're supposed to believe in. And in the story of the Son, he's sent here to tidy up our messes. And if we believe, all will be well. We won't find ourselves standing amid those horror-stricken faces in Michelangelo's Last Judgment, when the one who hears every word decides to wrap things up here on the planet. We'll find ourselves, as the obituaries in the newspaper tell us day after day, we'll find ourselves among those we had lived who have already, as the euphemism puts it, passed on and found their ways into heaven where they can reunite with their loved ones. That's what we've been taught to believe. Even if we weren't raised Christian, it's just part of the culture. It's in the air we breathe. That's what Yasmina wrote about questioning. That's what got me to thinking about all this. That the main religion of the Western world has one requirement, and one requirement only, that we believe. No other religion requires this of its adherents. They believe in behaviors, that if you follow the rules, jump through the hoops, wear the right clothes on the right days in the right places, all will be well. Do you have to believe in something bigger? Nobody talks much about that. So I ask you, not only what do you believe, but whether you think that belief has anything to do with how well you'll fit into this world, or in whatever you think may come after you're no longer part of this world. Is that your verb? Belief? Is that the one that determines your entire religious status and standpoint, your worldview, your assumptions about what matters and how to get along with the it that matters, that you, as we so often put it, believe in God or something like that? So I ask what you believe in and how important it is for you that you believe in it. Probably in death, taxes, and gravity, but what else? Well, Yasmina's still trying to sort things out, trying to decide what, if she doesn't believe what she was taught, she believes. Her essay concludes like this. My classmates criticized me. Whenever we would have debates about religion, I was always shamed for my opinions. I haven't talked about losing faith to anyone besides my friends because I'm scared of what they would think. If my closest peers would criticize me, what would a stranger think? But for now, I'm still figuring out life for myself. I've never met that girl. I've seen her on Zoom among 30 or 40 people and read what she's written. She's no good at pronouns. I would usually say, can we now take up the offering for the work of the church? But that's not how you do it here. It's now time for the offering. Richard, I gather you will model this for us.
All I want to say is that in the pandemic, we don't pass this way. We ask people to come up with something like, and you turn the camera off.
Now, if I may, I will start the joys and concerns by saying I have two. One, my wife Buffy is here with me. We decided to come and stay last night in Providence and have a night out, and we're wondering if that's the last one of those we'll have for a while. And the other, my joy is your children. They're just astoundingly wonderful, and thank you for bringing them, and thank them for being. Other joys or concerns? Yes, sir.
I'd like to pursue, and it reminds me of a choice I made at the Billy Graham convention in New York City. When I was making 15, I actually went down, gave my life to Christ, and that has made a difference. I probably would not be a minister. I probably would not have gotten past dying, actually, degree. I probably would have been at best a math teacher, because the superintendent schools said, you're 1 hour now. The math account was enough. For him. And, or it might have been food service. But the postdoc, exercise that belief. Jesus and I are good friends, and I've learned a lot. The thing about him as a friend is that he encourages me and faith. pressing issues on which I can do.
Your beliefs matter. Others? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a funny little joy, as we approach the second Christmas without my kids being able to travel here. We started like kind of making out plans for Christmas, and we devised a little way to do it last year by ordering things online and sending packages that had, as the middle name, like Santa or Elf or something like that, so people would know not to open until Christmas. So we didn't really think we have to do it again, but we are doing it again, and it started up, and it's really fun. It's almost like I'm treasuring the tradition that we started last year. So it's something really nice about it.
Thank you. It's good to be able to find the good stuff amid all this whatever. Others? Yes, sir, Donald.
Hi, my name is Donald. My biggest joy is being accepted in the Universal Church. My life hasn't been familiar with church. I was told I was a Catholic when I was young, and I didn't understand what it was about. But as I grew older, I found out my own root. And in the last 8 years since I met Reverend Dr. David Tranky, he has taught me a lot and accepted me too of coming to the church and understanding and going to his services and others in the Universalist Church that I feel excited. I feel different. I feel something has touched me deep inside. When I went to Catholic churches, I don't recall ever feeling like this. I have so much joy in you today, being here with you guys that I am able to share. And it's something that I'm learning as I go along. I wasn't taught as a child. So as my adulthood now, I'm learning everything I can by listening to what goes on with the Reverend today and the same with Reverend Dr. David Frank. It gives me a lot of inspiration. And I'm so proud to be here, so happy. I have so much joy. Every day I think about it. I feel found. Thank you all.
Thank you. Others? Yes, ma'am.
It was nice to have Thanksgiving with my family.
Ah,
How was it? It was so nice to see them. I'm not close to my family. Yes, but kids and my children, and then my daughter Michelle stood up. We always hold hands and sing for a meal. And Michelle was absolutely incredible. Thank you to her family for supporting her. She had breast cancer this year. And it was just, I think there wasn't anyone. It was so deeply so in my heart, so loving. Because, it was a blessing.
thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say thank you. I was sure my family, a little less than a year ago. And I first joined the Unitarian Church in Vancouver, British Columbia, it's my hometown, where Reverend Steve Pepperson, not only changed my life, but then saved my life. And, when we moved here, of course, with COVID, there was no opportunity. And we don't really know anyone here, and we moved to that place that, this is the very first service that we do not. And of course, my husband's not here, but I decided to come. There's also, I didn't know where I was going, or what I was going to say, but so,
Thank you. Well, before we sing the last hymn, I'll just remind us of all the joys and concerns that are out there in the world. And I think the world is sort of top heavy with concerns at the moment. And I hope we'll keep that in mind and figure out ways to be as helpful as we can to those who need our help. The last hymn is number 119. Number 119 is Once to Every Soul and Nation. I leave you with the words we sang just a little while ago as I put out the chalice. Where is our holy church? The race and class unite. Oh, perfect in search for beauty, truth.